All right, Wednesday Linc live, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. as we always do here. Thomas Mott alongside Josh Davis, the Philly special show, and we jump on with the breaking news. Let's jump right into it, Josh. First off, hello, how are you doing? Hopefully you had a great Wednesday.
I did, yes. Fantastic Wednesday. It was funny because I thought to myself today, wouldn't it be cool if Howie broke some news during one of our shows or really close to it?
Right.
And then there you go. We had the news broken. So it's been a very busy, very exciting Wednesday, but I'm doing fantastic. And it's crazy to believe, too, we are just about a week away from the draft.
Literally, this time next week, we'll be finishing up our final Wednesday Linc live before the NFL draft. And Thursday night, we're going to be live. A lot of great stuff happening that weekend. Let's go ahead and start, though, with the breaking news, and that is that Philadelphia has signed a new wide receiver 3, or at least signed some competition for the wide receiver 3 spot. You see it up here on your screen. Olamide Zaccheaus. I'm a little familiar with this guy living here in Atlanta and covering the Atlanta Falcons for the past couple of years. Zaccheaus has finally found a home. He's been a free agent for, right now it's April 19th, a very long time. He comes into Philadelphia as a real pure slot receiver. It's basically all he did in Philadelphia. We don't exactly know the terms of the deal here, but Josh, I'd be shocked if this is anything more than 1 year, $1, $2, $3 million. This should be a pretty cheap deal overall for competition for Quez Watkins.
And that's great, honestly. I think we've talked about it a lot. It's like, are you happy with the receiver room? There was going to be some solidifying, at least some depth additions as well. But you add the pieces, you solidify some spots that are maybe weaknesses going into the draft. This is the best case scenario because we've kept going like, okay, maybe you need a receiver, you maybe need an offensive lineman, some of these other areas. And then how he goes ahead and gets this. I think this is great. Competition is always good in the NFL, especially with a player like a Quez Watkins, who, he's been a little bit of a disappointment to say the least, depending on what you think about him. But Nick Sirianni has spoken that he thinks he hasn't gotten opportunities or maybe made the most of his opportunities, in my argument. But I think it's great. I'm in favor of this. Again, competition, it breeds success, and hopefully the cream rises to the top. So you add an addition piece. Who knows exactly where he's going to be played? But, I've seen some highlights already, just kind of taking some looks. I know you're more familiar with him, like you said, but I think this could be good. You add him in the offense. You're not bringing him in, obviously, as a wide receiver 1, 2, 3, even potentially, because you've got Goddard and everyone else. But yeah, this is a good signing. I like it.
People need to realize that he also can return kicks. He primary punt returner for Atlanta for a couple of seasons, and he's gotten better every single year. He's not anything special. He's not a household name, but every season you see it up on your screen here. 115 yards his rookie year, 274, 406, 533 last season, which you got to realize last season it was Marcus Mariota, who is an Eagle now, but let's just be real. He wasn't throwing the football very well with the Atlanta Falcons. And then at the end, a rookie quarterback. So the fact that Zaccheaus was able to snag 40 balls for 533 yards, 13.3 yards per reception, I think this guy's going to fit very well in the offense. And again, Quez is not a natural slot guy. He's more of an outside burner because he's a little bit taller, a little bit faster. Think Nelson Aguilar kind of pre-Super Bowl when he signed Olamide Zaccheaus, someone who technically could return kicks, return punts especially, and also line up in the slot very well. I think he makes a ton of sense for Philadelphia. Big fan of this signing.
Yep, I agree. I think so too. I'm excited to see it. Again, like we talk about, it's interesting. You make a signing here. Excited to see how he plays. And, like you mentioned there too, the slot position, him be able to make an impact. But then it kind of leads you into the question. Curious to get your thoughts on this. So now there's the big move here, right? Or at least a bigger move. We've seen a signing for, it seems like a little time has passed of, not pursuing other free agents. So we got a signing here. Yeah. We've had some moves, obviously, with the Jalen Hurts news earlier in this week.
Yeah.
And some restructuring. So what is Howie up to?
It feels like he's preparing for one final move. I know you talked about this yesterday. I talked about it on the show yesterday as well. I want to get to comments here in just 1 second. Tyler, I see you. We'll throw you up on the screen here and get, obviously, the jersey giveaway going as well, at least the signups. At the same time, Howie has the real capital to absorb a big-time player. I did it on my show this morning. Philadelphia has right about $16 million in free cap space, a little bit more than that. You expect about 4.7 of that will go to rookies if they draft 2 first-rounders and don't trade back. But they have essentially $13.5 million in cap space, and that's enough for Budda Baker. That's enough for a Devin White on a friendly contract, which we saw the reports that White wants $18 to $20 million. That feels like his agent trying to, bloviate his price a little bit more. But Devin White comments on every single Eagles Instagram post, seeming like he wants to be an Eagle. So would take $13 million for a 3-year contract? I don't know. Maybe it's Dalvin Cook. We'll talk about that. Maybe it's Joe Mixon. But I think Howie has at least positioned himself where if an A.J. Brown type trade presents itself during this year's NFL draft, because they were not going to trade for A.J. Brown until basically draft night, he can go, you know what? I got the cap space. Bring him on. Let's ride. And I'm honestly going to be very surprised if we don't at least get a report, Josh, that they've called about Budda Baker. I'm waiting for we've called about Budda Baker, because he feels like a plug-and-play fit for Philadelphia.
I think so too. I'm all over it. You obviously know, you did a show about it, like you mentioned. I did. It's been blowing up. And yes, I know there's speculations galore this time of the year. Every time that a big name free agent pops up in the market, oh, he might be available, or he's requested a trade. Yeah, your team's going to talk about it. But I'm with you. I think that you'll end up hearing reports. I don't know if you're going to hear anything, though, until after the draft, to be honest, even if nothing happens, because you think about it, to your point about A.J. Brown, like Mike Vrabel said, A.J. Brown's not going to leave as long as I'm the head coach here. And, look at what happened. So if coaches and teams and players say all sorts of things, but if Howie is legitimately considering making a move for Budda Baker, I think he's going to keep it so much under wraps. You're not going to hear a word until all of a sudden it's like, hey, the Eagles have traded a pick, and wait, what? They got Budda Baker now. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but it wouldn't shock me at all if you make a big trade, or Howie makes a big trade to make a splash for a free agent, or not a free agent, but a trade to get that and then give away a pick, or either give away a trade and move up. So we can get into that later with the draft and selections. But I'm telling you, I know we've gone over it, in these many weeks, and it's crazy. We're so close to it, but I don't know of another draft where I've been so much anticipating, what are the Eagles going to do? Because it's setting up so well right now.
Yeah, well, quickly on Budda here, they can either give up, say, a second or a third round draft pick, because I wouldn't give up a first round draft pick because he wants a new contract. And I would give up our second round pick in a heartbeat for Budda Baker, assuring you of 2 firsts. But you could also wait till, like you said, after the draft and do a C.J. Gardner-Johnson situation where you trade one of your future 2024 second round draft picks. Doesn't affect you at all this year, and then bring in a star safety.
Because you have so many, right?
You got a lot. It wouldn't be hard. I mean, if you gave 2024 third round draft pick for Budda, restructures for a 3-year contract. I mean, we're talking about the Howie magic that we saw earlier with Jalen Hurts, which we will get to. We need to get
There's
to
a window.
There's a window. There's a big window. We'll talk about that. Tyler Wallace jumps in here and continues his streak of being the, leader with the most submissions for our jersey giveaway. Doesn't guarantee he's going to win it, because, it was going to be a random drawing, but he has more entries than anybody else. Tyler with a $5 donation says, I won't drop the 100 bomb, but I do have 100 with the eyes. Okay. Hey, listen, you're talking about that 100 bomb. Let's have some fun tonight. We are going to have fun tonight, Tyler. You got 5 more entries into our jersey giveaway. Those of you guys just joining us, you've seen this. If you go ahead, any super chat, $1 towards the super chat goes towards, of course, an entry. 5 entries here in Tyler's case for the first round draft pick jersey giveaway. Whoever the first round draft pick is, we'll let you pick. If there's 2 first round draft picks and it's Bijan and Skoronski and Carter, it's Brian Branch, who they had a visit with a little bit earlier, I think this week, or it was last week, and Skoronski. You take your pick. Whoever you want, we'll get you that first round draft pick jersey. We're doing the giveaway night 1 of the NFL draft, probably right after they make that first selection at number 10. We're going to give a little leeway to people want to enter at the last second, they can. But if you guys want to jump in and get your entries in now and solidify your chance, go ahead and drop a super chat down below. Let's go to Jalen Hurts' contract here quickly. I know a lot of people have talked about it, and if you're on Twitter, you basically see everyone's opinions at once, and the gross, overwhelming support for Jalen Hurts' contract has been really, really impressive. And honestly, it's a great deal. And it's a great deal for both of them. I mean, find the flaw in this contract, unless you want to say 2027 when the cap hit goes up into the 60s. But if 2027 is how many years from now? 4. So I'll be 31, or maybe, I'll be 31 in 2027. You're telling me we have a 4-year window. I can finish out my 20s, get into my 30s, where Jalen Hurts' cap situation is better than Daniel Jones. I'd take that in a heartbeat. I thought for sure we would have some sort of mega cap hit year 2 or year 3. It's $5 million this year. It's like, 15 next year. It doesn't go above 30 in the first 4 years. It's unbelievable how they were able to make this done. You do sit back and wonder if other GMs on lesser football teams go, how does Howie Roseman do this? And is it all Howie? Does he have a cap guy who's able to kind of figure these things out? But it was a fair deal that didn't make him overall the highest paid quarterback. I know he's the highest paid player in NFL history, but really, there were some other quarterbacks. Mahomes' deal was bigger, but it didn't also make him the 6th highest paid quarterback, and it didn't ruin the Eagles' cap chances. We're biased. We say it every single week, but how do you look at this as an unbiased person and say this isn't a massive win for the football team?
I don't think you can. I mean, what was it? Scooter Magruder of the Cowboys YouTube
Yes.
guy. He's even saying,
Yes.
"Hey, what would it take for you to get Howie?" You look at it from the outside looking in. Yes, it's the cap wizardry from Howie Roseman. But I think one of the other benefits too, and you're kind of alluding to this, is like look at the guaranteed numbers. Like, yes, he technically, if you want to say, reset the market in the sense of he's the highest paid annual value,
Sure.
but he's not in terms of guaranteed money. I mean, okay, you're probably not going to ever cap or go over Deshaun Watson, but he's still not even second. I think, what is he, like fourth or fifth?
Yeah.
So how are you being able to do that move? Yes, it sets up us a whole lot of success, future success, and you've built that 4-year window, like you mentioned. Plus, how he does this with a lot of contracts anyway, if you build in either the dummy years or you just backload the contract, but it's a kick the can method, like a lot of people have been saying. But then he figures out a way, hey, you know what? If Jalen is our guy, then in 4 years, restructure it.
Exactly.
Kick it down the road a little bit more. You're like, okay,
Exactly.
you know what? Hey, we got another 4 years of Jalen, and you create more cap space. So I am loving it. I cannot wait to see, because he's already doing. You can read between the lines what he's doing. It's not, hey, our team's good, like we're going to draft and that's it. There's another big move coming. I guarantee you.
It does feel like there's another big move coming, and you can kind of go through even something like the Patrick Mahomes deal, which is a more expensive deal. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. The numbers that matter here are the cap hit numbers. Look at this. 2023, his cap hit is $40 million. This is Mahomes. Then in 2024, 46, 48, and then 62. Jalen Hurts' contract is way cheaper, even though it's very similar in terms of the average yearly salary. And yes, it's a 5-year versus a 10-year deal, but you get my point. It is such a team-friendly deal. Massive thumbs up on the show. And you got 100 guys watching tonight. You should go ahead and give a thumbs up for this show. Get us to 100 likes, but everybody can agree. I haven't seen a single person try and make the argument this is a bad deal. And like you said, Cowboy fans are even being like, oh, that was pretty good overall. Okay, we're going to get some comments here. We're going to get to a lot more stuff as we get going. Be sure to go ahead and, again, drop as many comments as you want. Thumbs up. We'll talk to a lot of people here tonight, as we always do. Baker coming to Eagles. I hope it happens, says Cool Rains. I think all of us do as well. Tyler says it would be so hyped when the trade is announced on draft night. It says Budda Baker. That would make our live show during draft night a lot more fun, too. Don't get me wrong about that.
That would be.
If we get Budda, our defense would be way better than last year. I think so. I think Budda is very similar to C.J. Gardner-Johnson in terms of production. They're very different players. Budda is very much a in-the-box, physical, hard-hitting safety, way thicker than C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Johnson, I'm not going to say was a better cover guy, but Budda is going to be a lot better open field tackling, and I think he matches up better with some of the tight ends in the National Football League, where CJ was always a little bit, not short, but a little bit undersized. I mean, Budda's thick. He is very, very physical. And if you watch the Cardinals in-season Hard Knocks last year, which was a disaster because the Cardinals stunk, Budda's kind of the one player that made you go, okay, this kid's really good. Like, if you could have one Arizona Cardinal right now, not named DeAndre Hopkins, you'd probably say Budda Baker. I can't think of another one.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, Budda's right there at the top of the list. There's a reason that he's an All-Pro, a multiple-time All-Pro. So yeah, he backs up the game and the tape there. But I love it. Watching him, seeing this as a possibility. And I mean, again, yes, a lot of players are going to say, I want to come play for Philly because you've got the culture, you've got Jalen, you've got the coaching staff, you got the city, the vibes, and the NFC being a easier conference. Again, you could make the argument. I've heard people be like, it's not easier, but just holistically look at the quarterbacks on different sides. But either way, that's where a lot of free agents or players that want to get traded, they want to go play for Philly. Yeah. And so I think it's awesome to see that. But then the clip came out, and I had forgotten about this, but Budda Baker on the Up and Adams show said that he wants to play, practically said, I want to play for Nick Sirianni. And I'm just saying, it's to go out there or to make that type of a statement is like, all right, you know what? You don't always hear a player giving that type of praise, because it's also a little bit of a slight to, the former head coach, and be like, yeah, I didn't really want to play for Cliff Kingsbury, So, and now Jonathan Gannon, like, what's going on with that? Because he's requesting a trade. Is it Gannon who's forcing him out, or is it just altogether the Cardinals and saying, I got to play for contender? And clearly the Cardinals are not it. So I don't know, but I love the kudos to Nick Sirianni and him being willing to say that, because obviously he can see from the outside looking in, this is the team that you want to be a part of.
It very much is. It's like you said, I mean, there are a lot of things wrong with the Arizona Cardinals. You could talk about that article that came out ranking every single team in terms of their facility and their treatment. The Cardinals were like dead last for a lot of things. One of the few organizations that make you pay for your meals, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. There is a comment
What
here.
year is it?
I don't know, right? 1984. 76er News says, look up cards say they are not trading Budda Baker. He's off the table. That's what they're going to say, right? I mean, this is AJ Brown all over again. Now they could
What the Titans said.
Yes, and they could still find a way to extend him to a longer-term deal, but they're going to have to fork up a lot of money. So another comment said, why don't you just wait and have Budda Baker force his way out, and that way you get him a little bit cheaper, as Philadelphia did with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's also fine, too. Josh mentioned that earlier. It's also worth noting that if Budda is traded, this is not going to be his contract. You're looking at $11 million last year, 13 this year, 14 with a cap hit of $17 million and $16 million in 2023. This would get restructured. Howie Roseman would not assume this contract without, of course, already talking to the agent of Budda Baker saying that they will go ahead and restructure the deal. So they could get it into that $12 to $13 million a year range, which we're talking about one of the highest paid safeties in the National Football League. Minkah Fitzpatrick makes like $19 million a year. So Budda Baker for 12 is very fair and very good value at market price. Yeah,
for sure. No, I'm completely on with that. Again, you never know. Yes, I could say there's lots of speculation here, but I'm sorry, I can't believe when a team comes out and says, nope, we're not trading that player, or they flat out tell a player that you're not going to trade him, because we see too many instances of it. Again, the easiest case in point is AJ Brown, because that hit home very well, and we love that trade. But Mike Vrabel flat out he said, no, we're not getting rid of AJ Brown. We're not trading him. The organization said it multiple times, and then there you go, draft night. So you never say never, especially in this league, especially this close to draft night. Heck, all the players saying Jalen Carter's not on our board. We'll see if that's a realistic probability. I don't know if I'm buying that.
And we're going to get into the draft here a lot as we keep rolling tonight. Cool Rain says, think it's possible we trade for Chase Young or Montez Sweat? No, because the Commanders aren't going to do that in division, right? If you're going to trade away one of your star players, you don't trade it to the team that you got to play twice a year. Warren Spangler makes a good point here. Jalen Hurts wants to go to more Super Bowls. That's less likely if they give Hurts all the money. Jalen Hurts understands this, but make no mistake, Jalen Hurts will get his money. Exactly. This is always the argument, and it's hard to say coming from, non-millionaires and myself and Josh. I don't know, Josh maybe has some cash stashed away, but we're not millionaires, right?
I wish.
And so, we would take less money because it's still a lot of money, but Jalen Hurts still is going to make $170 million guaranteed, something crazy like that. He could easily have said, guys, bring it down just a little bit, or to his agent, hey, Nicole Lynn, bring it down a little bit, that way we can sign other people, and he's still going to be set for life, and his kids are set for life, and the generation behind it. We always say, get your money, because you would do it for your job, I would do it for my job. No one's taking pay cuts here, but he took a very, I think, winner-friendly deal that's going to allow us to maybe go get a Budda Baker. Who knows? 76er News says, listen to me. The Cardinals told Budda they're not trading him. Get over with the rumors. He's not going anywhere. All right. I mean, hey, we're not saying it's a guarantee. We're just saying he's making a lot of noise right now. And if there was a team that needed a safety and could do it, maybe that's a possibility. I'm not guaranteeing anything. Yep. Come on. Tyler Walsh drops another 5-bomb. Excuse me, 5-bomb here. Let me get my wrong screen up here. He says, I don't think he fall, but we are confident about Tyree Wilson as being great pass rusher. He is super raw and has a lot more work to do. 5 more entries into the jersey giveaway here by Tyler Wallace. He's starting to get a bunch, racking up here the past couple of
up to
Wednesdays.
140.
Yeah, 140 in Super Chat donations, 140 entries. That's pretty good right there. Everybody's raw. You can make the argument Jalen Carter's raw. You make the argument Skoronski's raw. They're all draft picks. But when it comes to pass rushers, raw pass rushers normally turn out to be pretty good, because if you're raw, that means you have all the talent in the world. You need a little bit of coaching. And if you're going to go any position group, you want a raw pass rusher versus a raw corner or a raw quarterback or a raw offensive lineman. I'd much rather have a raw pass rusher, because there isn't much to pass rushing. I know there's spin moves and swim moves and, bull rushes and all that kind of stuff. I'm not poo-pooing it, but I think it's harder to play cornerback than it is to stick your hand in the ground and go bend around a tackle and get to a quarterback. So I'm fine with him being raw, but I think he's a lot more likely than Jalen Carter is if you're going to stay put at 10, because I think Carter is going to be off the board by at least 5, especially with the new report about quarterbacks we'll talk about here in a second.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. I agree. There's a lot more likelihood with Tyree Wilson, and yeah, you make a good point with the someone who's raw. What are they going to draft? Are they going to take a flyer on someone? I'm with you with an offensive lineman, obviously with a Jordan Mailata, and we've got a lot of other instances. And when you have a coach like Stoutland, you could do that. But for defensive line, Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's a consideration that any team would make, but still, if you see the tools are there, and this is where maybe the physical attributes come to play, because I don't know, have we seen anything? I don't know that we have anything from Tyree Wilson, right? Because he skipped in the combine, correct? Because he was injured or he was not going to do it. Did I
Yeah.
misremember?
I don't think we've seen him on any sort of visits.
Yeah, so that's the only red flag, and it's like if you don't get any measurables there, and you're saying he's raw, then I could possibly see him. I'm with you on it's a more likelihood he falls than a Jalen Carter. I don't think that Jalen Carter does because you have so much on tape and all the hype, and a lot of people saying he's number 1 or 2 on their big board. So.
Right.
It's maybe, but if Tyree Wilson is at 10, I still will say that I would love that pick. Yes, there's some potential and risk, but there's risk with everyone in the draft. So, sign me up. If he's a little bit raw, we get him with his D line. He has lots of guys to learn from, and we got great coaching. So I'd love to see what Sean Desai could do with him.
I want to go ahead and bring up this brand new, I think it was a rumor yesterday or today about there not being a quarterback taken besides Bryce Young inside the top 4. I don't know if you saw this. Multiple outlets had it. And this whole idea, one, that CJ Stroud basically ghosted Peyton and Eli Manning for the Manning Passing Academy. I don't know if you saw that, which is very weird. And for those of you who don't know, the Mannings hold a passing academy every year. Who's who of quarterbacks go there. Jalen Hurts went there when he was, college guy going to the pros. You get invited by the Mannings. You come out. You're basically a camp counselor as one of these star quarterbacks to younger high school quarterbacks. And it's a great time. Everybody loves it, raving reviews. And apparently the report came out today from Brady Quinn, of all people, who was on some sort of podcast or whatever. And he said that CJ Stroud was invited. He had secured his spot. He said he was going to go. Night before, went dark, ghosted, and never showed up. And then reports are also coming out that the Texans aren't interested in CJ Stroud, that the Cardinals obviously don't want a quarterback, that 4 with the Colts is where the first quarterback will go, which on its own is its own storyline, but that really does change picks 5 through 9. Because if you're telling me that you're having defense go 2 and 3, let's say it's Carter and Will Anderson, you're going to have somebody trade up from 4 till 10 to get these quarterbacks, because if you don't like CJ Stroud or you don't like Anthony Richardson, somebody else does, and we still think all 4 quarterbacks will go inside the top 10, right?
I think so. I mean, at least, for the most of the reports, but it is somewhat alarming because I saw the report and I was like, wait a second, there's a likelihood now that it's not going to happen. I know that, Peter Schrager in his mock draft had 5 quarterbacks in the top 12. So I don't know. It depends on who you listen to. It's definitely not a good look from CJ Stroud. And I know that what is it? The S2 cognitive test, or I can't remember what the exact name of it is, but it's a test that they do, and Bryce Young, almost aced it. But apparently CJ Stroud did not do very well. So it's like a lot of things have started adding up now of maybe this is the reason. You've got this report of the Manning Academy and the other report. And then, just people saying that I'd have to go find the tweet, but there's basically whenever Stroud has a clean pocket, his percentage of accuracy versus whenever he feels pressure. And it's very drastic difference for CJ Stroud compared to most of the other quarterbacks, at least the top echelon quarterbacks in this draft. So I don't know, maybe his draft stock's hurting a little bit because of that. And so teams are saying, maybe not so much, but it would be surprising, at least with all the hype that we've had, right up till a week till the draft now. And all of a sudden we're saying, wait, this draft is going to be totally different than what we've told you for the last 3 months. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's smoke and mirrors of a team trying to hope that Stroud or another quarterback falls further than they would have originally. But, you never know. I guess it could be. It's something like, why don't you show up to, a commitment? You made a commitment to the Manning Academy.
Yeah.
And then you don't show up. Like that it doesn't make sense to me. And this is maybe a little bit off topic, but, talking about commitments or meetings or whatnot, but like Kalijah Cansey, that's a guy who I've been very high on. I think that you've liked him as well. Yes. But then the report comes out that he hasn't met with a single team, not an official visit with not a single team. Like, what? Why? There's just mind-boggling things of why would you not do that? So you never know. And this is how players fall. This is how all of a sudden you see this was a first rounder that's still available in the, let's say, 3rd round. Can you get a guy to fall like that? Maybe so. But I don't know. It was kind of wild to get that report.
Well, what's wild is there's unintentional falling. Like, I would argue you can make the case to Kobe Dean. It wasn't his fault. He was healthy. There was some sort of weird report saying he wasn't. He falls out of the first round. But if you don't visit with people, or you don't get measured, or do your, bench press, or do your reps, whatever, and you fall because of you, you fall out of the first round, you're losing millions of dollars, and you're losing that fifth-year
Oh, yeah.
option as well, which also gives you a lot more money. It's just very, very surprising. What I think is going to be fascinating are these teams in the teens, say that 10 times fast, who, if you have a Jalen Carter go, let's say Anderson goes 1, Carter goes 3, or sorry, Anderson goes 2, Carter goes 3, right? Indianapolis takes a quarterback. Let's say it's CJ Stroud. Then you have 2 other quarterbacks we expect to go inside the top 10, which would be Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. You don't have a lot of quarterback needy teams until you get to the teams, right? Denver or Seattle doesn't need one. Detroit doesn't need one. The Raiders maybe, but they did spend a lot of money on Jimmy Garoppolo. Atlanta's meeting with CJ Stroud. I think they did it yesterday, but I think they really are going to try to ride with Desmond Ridder. Look at all these teams behind Philadelphia that could use a quarterback. Tennessee could go ahead and come up. The Patriots, there's been a lot of Mac Jones rumblings about, is he good? Is he annoying? Do they like him? Do they hate him? Who knows? Then you get into the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders, they're not sold on Sam Howell, whether they want to convince you that's the case or not. I mean, give me a break. How about Tampa Bay at 19? Do they love Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield? You could see some wild offers here, right? And that can go to the fact that Philadelphia could get some wild offers there at number 10, just so that way they can move back and a team comes up. What do you do if the Washington Commanders come calling or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come calling? You could get a solid next year possible first-round draft pick, go back to 16, and still take Bijan or somebody else. It's going to be fascinating if it's not quarterback, like we kind of thought it would be quarterback, trade up for a quarterback, and then quarterback, like we really thought that it was going to be. It's crazy. Yeah.
It could see something totally different. And I'm with you. If you mentioned just the, hey, what do you do if someone's available at 10 or quarterback's available at 10? Do you trade back? I think if you've done any mock drafts at all, really, and you've seen at 10 a quarterback being available, look at how many extra trade options you get. I don't care what platform you use, PFF, Draft Network, whatever you use, there's a ton more draft options if one of those top quarterbacks is available at 10. And that is at least realistic. Now, we have no clue what's going to happen, obviously, on draft night, but it's realistic that if a top quarterback is available, Howie's going to have a lot of calls. Then if someone says, hey, you want to move up? You want to get this quarterback? Is this your guy? The only question to me, or kind of the, I guess, red flag would be, if it's Washington, I'm probably not doing it unless they give away the whole farm for it. Because like we mentioned with the Chase Young comment, you just really don't want to give any help to your division rivals. So I think that's the only one that I'd be out on. But yeah, totally to your point, if a quarterback's available, I mean, look out. There could be multiple selections and great selections that you're picking up for that. And you move back, who knows, 5 selections, 6, 7, whatever. And you're coming away with a great draft.
One thing we do know for sure on draft night is that we will be picking a winner for our jersey giveaway. Dirty D has a $2 entry and a really fair point here. I mean, this is true. Y'all, this is going to be the week of lies in the National Football League. That's a great point. And what we don't ever really admit is that the Ian Rappaports of the world, the Adam Schefters of the world, they are the misinformation kings because they report, hey, I'm hearing this. And teams understand that Schefter's going to report whatever's given to him by a legit source. So if Schefter has a guy inside the Texans, and he's been honest to Schefter his entire career, and Schefter trusts him as a source, and the Texan front office knows that Jim Bob is a really good friend and trusted source of Adam Schefter, they go to Jim Bob and say, hey, Jim, you work for us. Tell Shefty this. And he lies to Shefty, and Shefty puts it out there. I mean, is this how you talk about misinformation? That is very true. This is going to be the week of it. You can see how easy it's going to be. But the Schefters of the world, the Mortensons of the world, all these guys who are very well respected and great at their jobs, and no one's poo-pooing them, they're the guys who are going to be able to spread a little bit of this, and they help out teams in pretty much an unintentional way. It's going to be very interesting. Dirty D, though, 2 entries in here to our jersey giveaway. Josh has you down.
Got you down.
We'll throw Donatello Dragon, who's got a bunch of entries in as well. 2 more entries. What's up, fellas? Robinson and Banker, go Birds. This is the longest we have been on a live show this year that we have not mentioned the B word. We haven't mentioned the B word once. Not once.
I know. That's crazy, isn't it? We got a lot of other news and it wasn't going to come out yet, but here it is. Now we can mention it. So I think, to your point, the smoke and mirrors and the false reports and, what's going to happen and everything else, the one that I hope is incorrect is all this Bijan speculation. So, you got Todd McShay in his latest mock draft. Yes. He had the Eagles again taking Bijan Robinson. It's 2 in a row for him. Mm-hmm. And then Peter Schrager of Good Morning Football, he actually in his mock draft had the Eagles taking Bijan at 10. So, it's again, is it the reports because they have more connections than we do, and is it actual legit reports or a legit interest? Or again, is it, like you alluded to, you're saying, hey, let's put this out there because we want teams to think we're going to get Bijan and trade up to get him. I don't know. We'll see on draft night, but that's the one that I hope is actually legit reports and reason for the trending in the right direction in terms of getting Bijan.
I saw the McShay quote today too, and I'm going to talk about it on tomorrow's show as well. The scarier part of his whole 2-minute quote there on whoever's show it was, I don't remember if it was McAfee or somebody else. He basically said Dallas loves Bijan Robinson, that Dallas is obsessed with Bijan Robinson, and that he would expect Dallas to move up to get Bijan Robinson. And while I don't think Dallas would go to 9 because 26-9 would be quite the move, if Philly does think about moving back a little bit, it better not be for Bijan, because I think Dallas, if Philly were to set themselves up where they went back to 16 or 19 or 20, I think they really set themselves up to be leapfrogged by the Dallas Cowboys as Dallas tries to get their guy, and they love this guy, but also make sure that Jalen Hurts and Bijan Robinson aren't united. So I think if you got to, I think we said this before, if you want Bijan, take him at 10. Seriously, take him at 10. And I know you're, Thomas, no, we could trade it from 30. There's too much unknown once you leave 10 to where you don't know who you're going to get. What will be a big teller about Philadelphia's draft on night 1, if they move back from 10 more than 2 or 3 picks, that basically tells you that they don't love anyone on the board and they're fine with a number of guys at 15 or a number of guys at 17. Because if they have a guy they love, they're not moving out of 10, because there are a lot of teams with plenty of ammo poised to move up and steal him from you, especially from a football team that other teams view as a legit threat this year because they don't want Philly to get another superstar for the cheap rookie deal.
Totally. Yes. And I mean, I think probably a lot of us play fantasy football, so you could take it with that solution or that scenario. But how many times are you looking at the board and you're like, oh, I like this guy, but I also like this one. Maybe I'll take this one and then I'll get him whenever it comes back around, and he's not available. Like, that's most of the time what happens. So yes, I totally agree. If you like someone, if Howie's legit 100% on board with Bijan Robinson, then if it comes to 10, you have to take it. You can't put matters in everyone else's hands or allow a team like the Cowboys or another team for that matter, maybe if they're interested in Bijan, to trade up, leapfrog you, get him, and then all of a sudden you're going, well, dang, like we got an extra pick, but now who are we going to get? Like that was the guy we were hoping to get. So you got to take him at 10 if you really want him.
Nothing would make me more happy than to draft Bijan at 10 and then watch all the Cowboy fans and the Cowboy defenders immediately flip and try and convince you, oh, we never really wanted Bijan Robinson. Like, why would you take a running back at 10? Like, we would never do that. It's going to happen. Like, it's for sure going to happen. And it'd be fun to watch him do that. Also happening right now is Andrea jumping in here. My goodness, Andrea, with a $19.99 donation. That's 19, make it 20. Sorry, more entries in the jersey giveaway. Hey, Thomas and Josh, if we get Bijan, that's a wrap. Unstoppable. Go Birds. Andrea, you're the top super chatter of the night. We appreciate that. And
thank you.
A bunch of really good entries and really good chances.
Got 70 entries.
Jersey. There you go, 70 entries. Andrea, we really appreciate you. And we've been saying it all along as well. It'd be fun to watch. It'd at least be fun to watch. I would be 100% down to sit back on my couch on Sundays and try and see what 5 and 1 can cook up in the backfield, running a read option. Good luck to any defensive end trying to figure out which way you're going to crash, either outside or inside, because that sounds like an absolute nightmare. But shout out to Andrea.
It really does. Yes. And you talk about the contract that was signed, obviously, with Jalen Hurts. So what's the fire insurance that you're going to get for that? And as much as I don't want us to draft an offensive lineman at 10, it's starting to look like that could be a possibility, because you're getting all these draft visits, and the Eagles are doing their due diligence. So don't get me wrong. That's not saying for sure they're going to draft this player. You talked about that on your show today. Just because they're visiting with someone does not mean they're drafting. So, but you got a Darnell Wright, you got a Paris Johnson visit, you got a DeJuan Jones visit, and the list goes on. Skoronski, so many offensive linemen. So it wouldn't be illogical, I guess, if you were to see Howie draft a lineman, as much as we would hate it, because I think I saw a tweet, can't remember who it was from, but basically said that we are one injury away from having, who's it, left tackle protecting Jalen Hurts, our $255 million quarterback.
Isn't if Mailata went down. Isn't it Opeta?
I think it is, isn't it?
Somebody,
I'd have to look up the tweet, but basically it puts a little bit of fear in you. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. Like this is our future guy. Like maybe we do need a little bit of depth, and don't get me wrong. There's going to be an offensive lineman drafted, but then it's like, okay, where is it going to be? But I still make the case, if you take a Bijan Robinson at 10, that's also great fire insurance, because Jalen's coming off of very minor surgery. It's not a big deal. He's great. He's fine. But still, he does get banged up. The way he plays, he's going to get banged up. So you get a guy who you can hand the ball off to a little bit more, take a little bit of load off of Jalen. I'm telling you, that's the insurance that you might need. So yes, I'm all for it, but draft 5.
Andrea also understand very clearly that a $10 donation versus a $20 super chat. 20 makes it UT Texas burnt orange, just like Bijan Robinson. I see what you did there, Andrea. Very smart. Very
I
smart
love that.
overall. Chris is going to get 2 entries in here to the jersey giveaway. I have the wrong screen up. He says, he says, who are your top 5 running backs in leading into the draft? I was pulling that up here, but Chris first, you get 2 entries into the jersey giveaway. Congratulations. We'll see what happens on draft night. If I could pull up the right screen. There it is. All right. This is NFLDraftBuzz.com. They do a pretty good job of ranking the top running backs. It's very clear 1 and 2. It's Bijan, very clear 1. Jahmyr Gibbs, very clear 2. There is no argument here. There will not be a different running back taken ahead of these 2. I'd be shocked by it. I will eat my own words if I am wrong on that. But 3 through, you can make the argument 8, because I think Evans and Johnson are a little bit further, and Kendry Miller I wouldn't view as kind of one of the top backs in this draft class, although he's very interesting because he is fast. But you look at the guy from Texas A&M, obviously the UCLA running back. I think Tajay Spears is very interesting, even though none of us watched him play college football, but he's one of those guys, right? I think Dwayne McBride is extremely intriguing for Philadelphia. He's a little bit, I'm not going to say smaller, but I think that he could be a very, very good mix-up running back in this offense. And then same with Sean Tucker and Tank Bigsby. Now, Bigsby's a little more physical because he's taller. He's 6 foot versus like a 5'8" or a 5'10". And you kind of figure Rashad Penny would kind of be that guy. But really, anyone from 1 to 8 on Philadelphia, you can make a really good argument as to why they work, whether it's speed, like the Texas A&M running back, because obviously he's in the 4.3s, whether it's being a little more physical, like Tank Bigsby, whether it's being kind of under the radar, like Tajay Spears. Any of these are going to be fine, but it will be a dramatic drop in terms of the hype level from a Bijan or a Jahmyr Gibbs.
I agree. Yes. Yep. You kind of got those 1, 2. So I'm with you. Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. If you're looking at others, I mean, where I would rank it, I like Achane, but for the Eagles, I don't know. Like he could be dangerous for sure. Like the speed kills, and totally get that. And I think he could be a weapon all over the field. But I don't know. You're probably looking for a little bit more of a stronger, more physical type of running back, running style. So, I'd probably go with a Zach Charbonnet. And then you could get into the argument of a Tajay Spears, or I picked Dwayne McBride in my latest mock draft yesterday that I did. And I think that would be a great weapon. He has some really good tape. He's a very physical runner, but at the same time, if you look at his tape, the way that he's able to make defenders miss in a very crowded box is very impressive. He's not at the Bijan Robinson level, but I'm just saying his film, he does look like he could, make a lot of things happen, especially, you put him behind this offensive line with Jalen Hurts. A lot of people are going to be successful in that type of offense. But I think those are kind of my top 5.
Did you see the fake news that was spreading on Twitter today that Kenneth Gainwell was going to change his number to 3 because Fanatics had a jersey of Gainwell change his number to 0, and Fanatics was putting it out there, and then someone DM'd Kenny G and was like, "Hey, Kenny G, what's going on?" And he said, "That's fake news. I'm wearing 14." So
yeah. He's like, "I'm not doing it." So
he's definitely rocking 14.
Robinson, how many people spent
5,
money?
Yeah, that's true. I bet nobody did. There's no way someone bought that. It's way too early, right?
I mean, you think so, but you want to be, I'm the first one. I got Kenny G's
Are you going to get
0.
a new jersey this year? Speaking of jersey giveaways, are you in the market? Because you have a Carson Wentz Black 11 that you did a very good job with your wife helping out of sewing on brown on the back. But are you in the market here for a new jersey?
I probably will. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new jersey. We'll figure out who that is. If it's someone we draft or if it's a current player. I probably have to. Although I jinxed myself because the last time that we paid Wentz a major contract is whenever I got the Wentz jersey, and then we know how that turned out. It looks great now. You saw it. So the AJ Brown jersey, it looks great. I don't know. I might have to get a Jalen jersey though. He's the guy. He is the guy. I probably have to get a Jalen jersey, but I got to get another one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Kelly Green. If it's clean, if it's really tight, like the pictures that we've seen. And I think that eventually we're going to give away a Kelly Green jersey here on the show. I think we can almost guarantee that when they drop the Kelly Greens, we're going to do another giveaway. So subscribe to both channels.
For sure.
Thumbs up as well. We have 183 people watching right now. I know we're not at 183 likes. If you're watching, you're commenting, you can hit a thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate that. The way more people can find it. More entries here into the jersey giveaway. Peter Thurman. He says, would you trade 30 to get more picks in the draft? Howie would. I mean, Howie Roseman would love to do that. We saw him do it in 2018 with Lamar Jackson, with the Ravens coming up to take him. So I think 30 is the more tradable pick than 10. I think 10 would be more best player available at a position of need, but really just best player available. And then you can kind of game around with 30 depending on who's fallen a little bit. But also, if no one's fallen and no one's that great at 30, if you're value to go from 30 to 37 and get the same player, is there, then you do it and you pick up an additional second-round draft pick or maybe a late first in next year, whatever it is. I don't know. Peter Thurman, though, 2 entries into our draft night jersey giveaway. Let's see here. Dontel Dragon, 2 more. Josh thought he was a comedian earlier. What'd you say? What'd you say? I already forgot.
I'm sorry. I assume I assume that he's referencing the show from today, where I said that Jalen was possibly injured. I only let it go for like 4 seconds, so you got to give me credit there. I didn't drag this thing out. I couldn't help myself. I started, I like to have fun with the show. We both do. So you got to make people laugh. You got to, put a little jokes in there. But I was like, yeah, I wonder how this is going to come off. You joke that Jalen Hurts is going to miss the start of the regular season. I got a lot of people being like, oh, well, gosh, you scared me. So I'm sorry. I apologize.
There you go. Yeah, Donatello Dragon, obviously a subscriber of yours. Make sure you're a subscriber of both of our channels. That goes without saying. To go ahead and get entered into the jersey giveaway, you have to be subscribed to both channels. What we don't want to have happen is on draft night, the Eagles pick at number 10. We wait another, 20 minutes, get a couple more people to go ahead and enter because people will see who the draft pick is and definitely want to enter. They're dropping super chats. They're feeling great. And then when we go to pick, we're going to check if you're subscribed to both of our channels. And if you're not, then we got to pick somebody else. I would hate that. So subscribe to Josh's channel. He's approaching 3,000 subs. Subscribe to my channel. I'm almost to 11,000 subs. And give this show a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. A lot of comments coming in right now. Dennis Adams says, I still have my Foles rookie jersey. Jeez.
Oh, how about that? Okay.
I see the Foles Super Bowl jerseys with the patch all the time, especially at the Linc when I went, multiple times last year. Rookie jersey. That's like an OG guy right there. Dennis Adams. My goodness. I still remember.
And the badge of honor. I've seen a lot of people tweeting about this, but, if you have the Jalen Hurts original rookie jersey, that's your badge of honor because you're kind of taking it before he was the guy. So that's another one.
Yeah. No, the Foles first year as a starter was very exciting. You remember that 7 touchdown game against the Raiders? I mean, it got wild there. That was why we all drank the Chip Kelly Kool-Aid, and then it kind of all died off. Let's see here. Chris says with a 10 entries, 99 super chat. Josh, drop a video on Jake Witt or dope video on Jake Witt. I would love to see both of you do a collaboration with Gate City. Which video was yours on Jake Witt?
That was today's. Yep. So I did it. And I mean, kudos honestly to Bird's blog because I appreciate it, Chris. I mean, that was all his content pretty much. And I had reached out to him and said, hey man, I love it. I'm going to do a show on it. But wait, you talk about,
is Chris the Birds blog guy, the DI Birds blog? Is that what you just said?
No, I reached out to Bird's blog.
I was like, is this the guy?
Yeah, okay, it's Anthony. It starts DI. Is it DeBona? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But it's Anthony. I know that's his first name. But yeah, I reached out to him, just said, hey, this is awesome because he got an exclusive interview with Jake Witt, and so it's a tackle who was playing basketball and then transferred and moved to tight end, and then was asked to play on the offensive line. Had some really good measurables at his pro day, but he's like a 6th or 7th round project basically. But does it sound familiar? Like this is a Stoutland potential prospect. So I just wanted to give it a little color. I put some pictures there, kind of a little voiceover on it. Nothing special, but I appreciate the shout out.
Chris is mentioning that he is not the guy from DI Birds blog. That's okay. Okay, Chris, we love you. Just
name's not Anthony, so yeah,
it's okay. We appreciate the $10 super chat. 10 more entries into the jersey giveaway here. Gate City. I'm trying to think. There are a lot of Eagle creators. Gate City.
Yeah, he's the what is this? The Cerebral Crew or something like that. But he does a lot of analytics and breakdowns. He's had some really good content on like film breakdowns for some of the coaches and players and everything else.
Yes, would love to have him on. That would be a lot of fun. Charger says, I'm so old. I have McNabb and Westbrook jerseys. Hey, I did too. I actually have a signed Westbrook jersey outside of
I was going to say, you've got that frame. One.
I wonder if I can show it. Can I do it big enough if I ditch Josh here for a second? I don't know if
I
can.
Maybe. Go for it.
No, I can't. I can't show it. It's to the left of the sign, which I forgot to turn on as well. No, it's a signed one from a subscriber because he had an extra one, which was crazy. My first jersey was a Terrell Owens 2003 Eagles green 81, and that was of course the 1 TO year. And I was in Atlanta visiting the World of Coke factory. I live here now. We were just visiting, and my mom bought it for me. It was one of my favorite things I ever had. And then of course the TO debacle, blah blah blah. And then I got a black Brian Westbrook jersey. I got a white McNabb jersey. I got a Kelly Green Vic jersey. I had the blue and yellow David Akers jersey. These are all the cheap knockoffs from eBay. By the way, these are not $100 jerseys. Okay, like
I'm adding up. I was adding up in my head.
No.
How much did you spend?
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. And then I got a Jordan Matthews jersey in college, was when I met Josh. Of course, I thought
Mhm.
Jordan Matthews was going to be good. That shows you how much I know.
I
about the
remember that
Eagles.
jersey, actually. I
Yes,
remember you
I
wearing
wore
it.
it to class on Fridays before game day. And then my most recent one was the Devontae Smith one my roommates got for me. So, which is an official Nike one, by the way. So
There
the
you go.
official ones do look like I get getting the knockoff ones because they're cheaper, but the official ones are they're very good.
You can tell.
Yes. Let me see here. I have a custom Dawkins jersey replaced with Dawkins nameplate with Weapon X. Very cool. You see those at the Linc a bunch.
That is awesome.
Keith jumping in here with a 1999 super chat, 20 entries. Again, if you want to talk about Bijan, you got to do 20. That way you get the Bijan burnt orange Texas Longhorns color here. It's a rule. Doesn't Bijan lack a vertical speed scare you in the draft at 10? Josh, I'll let you answer this. You are the draft Bijan guy. Keeping in mind he's a 4.46 40 according to NFL Draft Buzz. I think 4.52 may be unofficial at the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Does it concern you that Bijan might be a little slow, Josh?
No, not at all. No,
so.
I mean, you're not asking him. Yes, look, it'd be great if he's going to run a 4.3. Let's just build this as crazy as he is, just make him even better. But no, you're asking. I mean, look at the tape on this. There's a reason why he set the record for most broken tackles, like 104 broken tackles. The guy makes so many people miss, and it's not only just making people miss, but this was a guy that every single team knew when you come into the game, you're game planning to stop Bijan, and he still was able to break that many tackles and have such a great year. So you put him in with the Eagles. You're not asking him to break off 80-yard runs every single play, although he still has plenty of speed to do that. I mean, let's not say like a 4.46 is slow by any means. Yes, there's other faster players, but there's not players that break as many tackles as Bijan. So I don't think it is. I'm not concerned one bit. He is the guy. If you want the best running back in the draft, if you want a guy that a lot of people say is better than Saquon Barkley, or at least at the level of a Saquon Barkley, is Bijan Robinson. So no, I'm not concerned one bit.
Tom McShay's video, which I'm going to have on my show tomorrow, and I don't know if you did today or not on your channel, but Todd was being interviewed. He said Bijan is his number 2 ranked player in the draft behind Bryce Young. In the draft, which is wild when Jalen Carter and Will Anderson exist.
I know he was high on him, but yeah, I've not heard that clip.
Said number 2 behind Bryce Young in this draft, which is wild. But no, I have no concerns about the speed, although you do get 20 entries into the jersey of Wade Keith. It's a fair question, but I don't think you need breakaway speed as a running back. I think it helps. I think Chris Johnson, CJ 2K was one of the guys who could just beat you vertically. But a lot of times it's vision and footwork, being able to move laterally as a running back. Saquon is plenty fast, but what makes Saquon really good is his vision. I mean, Saquon will find the hole, make a jump cut, and then be gone. I think that's what makes Bijan very special as well. And as you mentioned, after contact and absorbing contact is a big reason why people think he's going to be very, very good. Let's see here. Hey guys, wouldn't safety Jordan Battle second round be a better player or a player ready to plug and play this coming season if we don't draft Budda Baker? The answer is yes, but I think, Josh, there are some better options here as well. I pulled up the DBs here on draftbuzz.com. And obviously, Brian Branch is the cream of the crop. He's the only first-round safety on this board. But I think either Antonio Johnson or Jordan Battle, remember, they're ranking corners here as well. That's why he's 8 and 12. I think either would be fine in round 2 if, let's say, the Budda price is too much, or if, as 76er fan had mentioned earlier in the comment section, if Budda does go ahead and re-sign some mega deal with the Cardinals, for that way Jonathan Gannon can save face. I have no problem with Battle or Johnson. We just understand Brian Branch is a lot better.
I agree. Yeah. And the question is, what is Howie going to do at that position? It's interesting. And I don't know your thoughts on it, but again, you meet with tons of players. You're trying to get as much of a heads up on these guys as you can. And also there's smoke and mirrors, like we said a lot. So you're trying to throw teams off the scent. So some of the visits are pre-planned already. Like, hey, let's meet with this guy. This will get reported. Teams will think we're interested and we're really not. So you can use it for trade value. But I don't know where I think that Branch is on this, because he's a great player, but the Eagles know where projected know where he's going to fall in the draft. So, I mean, are you planning on potential? Because I don't think he's going to be available at 30, and maybe if he slides, but that's a steal. I don't think that he's going to, but it's too early in my mind to take him at 10. You could, but I feel like that's a little bit of a reach. So in this scenario, I mean, is it, hey, Howie's trying to, plan for all possible scenarios. So we talk about if he trades back from 10 to pick up a couple other selections, but he's not trading back and saying, I'm trading back, but let's get Bijan. It's a trade back and see who's available at that point. maybe that's where you fall and you're saying, okay, that's why they met with a Joey Porter. That's why they met with a Brian Branch. Like those guys seem to be the guys in the teens that you would pick. I don't know though. I'm curious to see. Do you have any thoughts on the reason they're visiting with Branch? If you see where this would fall,
I think you just nailed it on the head. It's the scenario that we mentioned earlier. You're at 10. There's no Carter. There's no Will Anderson. Howie doesn't want Bijan. Who knows? We're just speculating here. We do, but let's say Howie doesn't want Bijan. There's no Brian or none of the defensive linemen. They don't want to go Skoronski. You don't want to go Paris Johnson. We'll talk about it in a second. You trade back to 19 because the Bucs want to come up and get Anthony Richardson, keep him in Florida, blah, blah, blah. That's where Brian Branch falls into this category. If Philly had, the 21st overall draft pick this year or the 19th overall draft pick, I think Branch would be at the very front of most people's mock drafts because he's young, he's really good, he's physical, he can cover, blah, blah, blah. But it's too early for 10 and it's too late for 30. So I think he would be a trade back option. And they want to make sure they've met with the guy in case that's a scenario. Because as we've said, Carter, I'm starting to lean towards the idea that Carter's gone inside the top 5 picks. I think Carter could be number 2 overall to the Texans for all we know. And then you basically are hoping and praying that I guess Tyree Wilson falls or that you love Myles Murphy. But after that, we got to at least bring up the conversation that they're meeting with offensive linemen like crazy. Paris Johnson recently, a couple of days ago, came to Philadelphia. We don't want to say it because it's not fun. It's not sexy. It doesn't get clicks on YouTube when you talk about Paris Johnson or whenever you go ahead and talk about, all these other offensive linemen, Peter Skoronski. I think it's a real possibility. I think you could totally make an argument that Howie says, guys, I'm not going to be stupid here. In any other draft, these two guys would be picks 2 and 3, but you have really good defensive players. So I'm going to get at 10 a lineman who will be worth the 3rd overall draft pick when we look back 5 years from now and he gets the next Lane Johnson.
Yep. I agree. It's not the sexy pick. It's not the most ideal pick. And if we're, trying to think of what jersey we want, that's probably not the player that you want to be wearing the jersey.
No.
Not that there's anything against a player like that, but yeah, I think it's just a smart pick. And it would be one that's, somewhat logical. As much as we may not want to see it, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what Howie does, depending on who goes in the draft and where potential guys fall. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but yes, you're conducting these interviews, you're doing your due diligence to plan and prepare for all potential outcomes. And that's what makes Howie so great at the draft. And we'll just see. I do think, though, to your point, that Jalen Carter is very unlikely to fall past 5. But you got to believe and it may be even at 5, quite honestly, I don't know, but you got to believe that Howie Roseman, based on reports, having the Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, the insider information, what everyone's suggesting, that there's a certain number in Howie's head. If Jalen reaches just 6, 7, whatever it is, that he is very much going to consider that and making the calls and saying, hey, we're coming up to get him.
Yabba Dabba Doo says, what was that? Sorry, just scrolled away. It says, Skoronski at 10, I'd be happy. Someone else just said, or Tyler Wall said, I'd much rather have Paris Johnson Jr. over Skoronski. Paris Johnson Jr. has also played right guard too. Yeah, the Skoronski versus Paris Johnson argument to me is, if you're not confident in Cam Jurgens, you take Skoronski because of his a little bit smaller wingspan and the idea he'd be a better guard in the National Football League despite playing tackle most of his career at Northwestern. If you're worried about backup for either Mailata or Lane Johnson, then you'd go with Paris Johnson. That's how I understand it. I could be wrong, but that's how I would understand it as a whole. And again, you could make an argument for it. It's not sexy in a year where you're going for it, right? It's not, unless you have a situation where Johnson or Mailata gets hurt for the rest of the year and you are so lucky to have Paris Johnson sliding in relief week 10, and we look back and say, thank goodness you took him. But I mean, we're really,
be a very smart pick.
Yeah, right. But other than that, you kind of wonder, get somebody who can win now. And by win now, I mean win for the next 4 years, because you have a 4-year window right now based on the Jalen Hurts contract.
The Eagles there was a report that came out, I think it's a couple weeks from even a month ago now at this point, but the Eagles were, I think, the 3rd most fortunate in terms of just the injuries and getting injured. Now, yes, you can attribute to the training staff and a lot of other sides of that, but there's still a luck element to it. I mean, it's it's the National Football League, and it's incredibly physical, and guys are just accidentally in the wrong place at the wrong time, and all of a sudden you get an injury. So, as much as, and I'm not saying this is the exact scenario, it's not really that close to it, but as much as whenever Carson Wentz was the guy that they drafted Jalen Hurts, it was kind of like it felt like number 2, we're using our 2nd round pick, do we need a backup quarterback? again, thank goodness he did that. But Howie, as we've said, you said it on many shows, is so great at seeing it before it happens. Before you need to make that selection, he goes ahead and grabs a player. So as much as we might not like it in the moment, I could see an offensive lineman being a good pick, and we look back on it and say, yep, Howie again, he was right.
It is worth, we've done something like this a couple of times, looking back on drafts. Here's the second round of the 2022 draft. Let's take a look at players taken around Jalen Hurts. Let's say they had never taken Hurts. Let's say Carson Wentz had panned out and he hadn't wasted the pick on Jalen Hurts like we all thought he did. It's interesting players here. You know, they look Chase Claypool at 49, Trayvon Diggs at 51, Cam Akers at 52. Here are the people after it. Are any of these players actually, you know, big-time starters? AJ Epinesa is not bad. I think he was probably one of the better defensive ends in this second round. J.K. Dobbins has been fine, but a little injury-ridden. Van Jefferson the same way, fine, injury-ridden. There's our Baylor guy, Denzel Mims, injury-ridden. I mean, Kristen Fulton is a decent name here. A.J. Dillon, Jeremy Chin, but the picks around Hurts were not going to be that great either unless you wanted to make the case it was AJ Epinesa. So there is at least an argument for take the guy who can be great in a couple of years versus the guy who's never going to be great at all in his career. And I guess you leave that up to Howie. It's always fascinating to look at here. Is there a third-round stud in the 2020 draft that jumps out of my name? Or
it is really fun to go back and, to take a look at it and say, not necessarily.
Not a lot. As we talked about, there aren't a lot overall. I'd much rather take an unrefined but athletic offensive lineman in the third or later, get someone with the traits Stoutland needs and let him mold him. He doesn't need to start for at least a year anyway, says JK. And that's a very logical and fair argument, and I have nothing against it because, yes. Now, Stoutland has not turned everybody into Jordan Mailata. He's turned Jordan Mailata into Jordan Mailata, but the argument here is that you find someone similar who at least gives you, work ethic and massive size and physical traits and then mold him into, and I'm fine with that. I think it makes sense.
I agree. Yep. Shout out to Philly fan 21. He's O-line definitely seems realistic, but I'm still hoping they draft 5. Me too. I'm hoping that they draft 5. Yes.
Let's see. Take Bijan at 10, Oshulari at 30, do Turner at 62. That makes sense, but do we really think that Howie's going to keep all of the first 3 picks that he has in this draft and not trade at all? Probably not. There'll probably be a trade at some point. That's going to be the fun of the
He averages 3 per draft, right? I mean,
he only has 6 picks this year, so let's talk about
every other one. It's if he doesn't do it at 10, he's going to do it at 30.
Let's talk about running backs for a second here because there's news, obviously, that Dalvin Cook might be released. That was hot a month ago, but it's come back around. I talked about Joe Mixon today on the show, how they're trying to make him take a pay cut. If he doesn't do it, they're going to cut him. Do you have any interest in either of those two guys? Because I made the argument on the show today. Yeah, I do. And you could see an argument where if they take Paris Johnson and then get Kalijah Kancey at 30 or Brian Branch at 30 or, insert pass rusher at 30, you don't get a running back. You could sign Dalvin Cook and be just fine. I think you could at least kick the tires on a cheap veteran contract for 2 guys who probably want to go win a Super Bowl. People like to poo-poo this because the argument is, no, just take Bijan Robinson. But the argument is not that. It's not Bijan versus Dalvin Cook. We're not stupid, right? That's
right.
Obvious. It's Dalvin Cook versus no one else not drafting a running back. I mean, come on. That's kind of the question here. I have no problem with it. And it's funny to see Eagle fans get very defensive because they want 5 so darn bad.
I agree. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I not so much on Joe Mixon. I'll say that. I think that he's got good talent. And he's played phenomenal, certainly at times, and when he's interested. But remember, this is a team that is very special for a number of reasons. But the culture is a huge piece of that. And Joe Mixon has been in the news too much, in my opinion, for just other things, whether he's guilty or not. But there's just other instances, and it's like that's a guy I don't want to add to the locker room culture, even if he came in and you know what, he was perfectly behaving well, and there's no new, it's just the risk or the potential. So I don't see that as a realistic possibility, regardless of the money and what it would take to get him or anything like that. Dalvin Cook, I could see, and I'm not totally against that either. But yeah, like you mentioned, it would be on a 1-year deal, I think, a veteran. You get some extra depth in there possibly. And Joe Castro was the one I think that I saw first pointing out, but the Eagles were interested in him back whenever he got drafted. Yeah. So it's a player that was been on the radar for quite some time. He's got some playing left in him, but I don't think that this is a long-term solution. So, if you say, for 1 year, let's add him. We like our running back room here. We add one more guy as far as depth, and then maybe Howie and the team looks at a running back in next year's draft, or other free agents that come about. Dalvin Cook is someone I could get behind more so. Like I say, no to Joe Mixon, possibly a Dalvin Cook, but I mean, you can tell I'm struggling to even get to that point because I really see only one thing at this moment. But yeah, it would make more sense if you're going to pick between those two. I'd say Dalvin.
I'm starting to try to really prepare for the worst, right? We're going for a little Murphy's Law here. What can go wrong will go wrong. I'm preparing myself as if we're not going to draft Bijan Robinson. I've convinced myself it will be a tackle. I've convinced myself it will be one of the two we've mentioned, Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski, and I'm going to be ready for that. That way I'm not crushed on draft night live in front of hopefully thousands of people with yourself in a situation where it's like, Bijan, and the 10th pick is Peter Skoronski. And I'll go, okay, I don't hate it, but at the same time, it's not going to be the worst thing in the entire world. Josh is going to run for a second. He's got to go grab something. I will keep going here, answering some of the comments here. Josh will be right back. Philly Fan 21 says, yeah, I'm out on Mixon. Don't need that in the locker room at all. Yeah, I mean, from an on the field standpoint, you like him a lot. Off the field, yeah, that's a very fair point. Considering the load of comp picks next year, can you envision a trade up to 3 with the Cardinals? Delco Green asked that. I could. The question really becomes, what do you got to give up? Because 10-3 is a pretty big jump, and you would think you'd be 10 and at least a first-round draft pick next year. Would they take 10 and 30 to do it? That's the real question. I don't think they would. I would want a first-rounder next year if I was Arizona. So I think it would cost a little bit too much. No, I'm not saying that, Justin Drew. Frank Gerner says, hashtag Thomas, hashtag Josh, hashtag Eagles. Thomas, you know me. You have me sold on Bijan on Johnson. However, what is your opinion on Bijan versus Gibbs? Let Josh know I recently subscribed to his show. Josh is stepping away real quick. He'll be back in 2 seconds. Sit tight. So I will let him know you do sub to his show. I appreciate that. His channel's great. He's been growing at an incredible rate. You guys being followers of mine, going to him as well, watching both has been fantastic. Listen, a lot of people are making the argument for Jahmyr Gibbs because he's a better pass catcher out of the backfield. But Todd McShay said yesterday that there's a lot of unseen footage of him at practice. That kid is Bijan Robinson, catching some insane passes, and he's lining up in the slot. And it's not simple slot running back routes where you run a flat or you run a speed out or something crazy like that. He's running, deep outs. He's running legit slot running back situations. And he went as far as comparing him to Deebo Samuel and the weapon that Deebo Samuel is in both the backfield and as a pass catching wide receiver. And so I think the argument for Gibbs is basically, if you can't get Bijan at 10, then you can take him, at 30. But other than that, the idea that Gibbs is better as a pass catcher than Bijan, I think, is a little bit bloviated, in my honest opinion. I don't think it's, that big of a difference, but it's a big enough difference to where Bijan at 10 could be a lot different than where we're at right now. Josh slides back into the screen here, and he is ready to go. Remember, Josh has a child. He has a young... Was it 12-month, 18-month-year-old?
She is 17 months.
So
but that was not the excuse there.
Okay,
that was actually
mind.
The pups. So it's just me and the pups today. And you know how it is. You hear a noise that you're not supposed to.
I understand. I just wanted people to understand why Josh would disappear. It would be because he has a lot bigger priorities than just this show.
I appreciate that.
I do not have a child. Josh has a child and 2 dogs, and so those take precedent. But that's the beauty of doing this and saying bye, Josh, and then bringing Josh back in. So we're good to go. And Josh comes at a very good time because, first off, Frank Gernick says he just subbed to your show and he's really enjoying it. So shout out to Frank for subbing to your show as well.
I appreciate that,
and
Frank.
Then Tyler Wallace stuns everybody and drops a 50 burger here on the show. I won't be overtaken. I'm really intrigued about the edge prospects at 30. Tyler Wallace is in a battle for the most entries. And Tyler is now
190.
Very much taking the lead up to 190 here. And so congrats to Tyler. Doesn't guarantee you win, Tyler. Because, someone with one donation for $1 could win it based on the random spin that we're going to do. And we have a website that's going to do it. It's going to be great. But a 50 burger is massive. I've never gotten more than 50. I've never had a bigger. I've seen different channels get 200, 300, 400. Never gotten more than 50. So when I see the pink 50 burger, that's thumbs up for Tyler Wallace, as he will not be overtaken. A lot of people loving it. Holy blank, baller. 50. Big baller Tyler. Tyler's balling tonight. We appreciate Tyler. He says prospects at 30. Let's pull that up. Josh, first off, I think Cansey is a name. He's not an edge, but he is a pass rusher you can talk about there at number 30 as I get you the actual full list up on the screen here. There are some, but it's going to be very interesting to see where they're going to actually go. And so as we throw up the here you go. Here's your list. We can say without a shadow of a doubt, Carter, Murphy. I think you can make the case also for Brisset and I would say Van Ness are all gone by 30, right? I think
Yep.
we can, and throw in throw in Will Anderson because he's not on this list for some reason. I don't know where the hell Will Anderson is, but
Interesting.
Carter, Will Anderson, Murphy, Brisset, Van Ness, all gone. Cansey, you mentioned it earlier, not taking any meetings yet. That's very surprising. Okay, we'll see what happens in terms of Kalijah Cansey, but you're talking about late first round draft options. You've talked about BJ Ojulari. Mason Smith is in here as well. Will McDonald, Isaiah Foskey. These are kind of your picks here at 30. Obviously, the guy whose name is very hard to say, Ademba War. I always stutter as I do that one. These are your options.
Some people, I think they've started saying double A, and it's much easier for me to go with.
Double A, yes. I like that. Now, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say for pick at 30. I know that Todd McShay had Will McDonald. And that's something that I potentially could get behind. I think he set the Big 12 record for sacks in a career, and he's got a great. I think his spin move is his favorite move, but he's got a couple different moves. Obviously, you don't set a record in any conference, but I don't know. Questioning of it's the NFL is very different than college, and I don't know what the percentage would be, but a lot of times it feels like, someone set the career record, for sacks or for whatever. And then they translate to the NFL and it's like, it's not quite as easy. And then they don't really perform as well. So I don't know. Will McDonald, though, is a name I could potentially consider. I personally like Ojulari above Will McDonald. I don't know. I think that he has maybe some better physical tools, possibly. You can make an argument again for all of these types of players, but to me, I would like to see him with this team. He's a more physical guy. He's faster. And so I think that you put him with the arsenal that we already have. That's a name that I'd be interested in. Double A, he had incredible testing at the combine, or what was it? Maybe his pro day. The combine or the pro day.
Combine. Because he was in the 4.4s, right? 4.49.
Yes, yeah, incredible testing. So that's another name that I would get behind. I think that those two, Ojulari and Double A, I'm just going to refer to him as that from now on. But those two would be probably ahead of Will McDonald in my mind. And the Eagles have met with Double A, so that's an official visit there. But Howie is very interested, or again, according to sources, he's interested. What is that? Is that smoke and mirrors, or is it legit? But I don't know. It's always guessing at this point with edge prospects, but I think I'd go with those two at least for 30.
The only reason I don't want Ademba War or Double A is because I will mess his name up every single show from here on out. I'll practice it, and it will be an absolute nightmare. So Double A sounds go with the nicknames. Great for me overall. I agree with everything that you just said. I think Lucas Van Ness is the same as Brian Branch. You trade back from 10, you go to 19. Who's available? We got Lucas Van Ness, pass rusher. We love pass rushers. Boom. 30 doesn't make any sense.
I just got to ask a question for the comment section. Like, who legit wants Lucas Van Ness at this point, right? Like the bench press. I think Tyler Wallace actually. I think he was the one who was posting on Twitter. Maybe like, did he forget how to bench press? I could be wrong. I think you actually said that, but I'm just saying the strength or the lack of strength. Like, this is a guy who supposedly is, an incredible bull rusher. Like, that's his move. And, you're on the weaker side. I think it was like 5th percentile for a defensive lineman. So I don't know. I'm not saying that it just automatically says you're going to have a terrible career and you don't have any potential, because his film, he does have some great moments. He looks great in a lot of areas and he played well in college, but I don't know. That's a name that I could never get behind at 10. And now at this point, I certainly could never get behind at 10, but now even at 30, I'm like, I just kind of hope another team takes him. So you don't even have to have that argument. I'm like, should we take him at 30? Should we take a different player? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair point. A lot of comments here. Andrea says, Tyler, do 100 so Thomas will shave his mustache. I did, technically. It's all the same. I was back in Texas this weekend meeting my newborn baby niece. Shout out to Rylan, newborn baby niece. She's very small and very cute. And shout out to Leah. My brother just had his baby. We have 2 brand new babies inside the Mott household. I've not met Liam yet because he's like 2 days old, but shout out to both of them. So I was actually in Texas, and my girlfriend's parents live in Texas. We go to both houses, my parents and hers. You hang out with the girlfriend parents. You want to have some, ragtag mustache. So we shave just out of respect there. So it is gone. So
you wouldn't shave for your girlfriend, but you would shave for your girlfriend's parents.
Hey, come on. You gotta make sure that they're fans of Thomas Mott. Andrew says, with daycare costing $1,700 a month, my wife would murder me if I drop 50 on a super chat. We totally understand, Andrew.
Yes.
I would probably murder you too if you're spending that much on on
Don't get in trouble.
daycare.
We do not
It's
want to
not
get
worth
losing
it.
for that.
It's not worth it. It's okay. Andrew says AA is a must. The Val soup is too much. It is. And I saw Andrew say it's like pronouncing Big V's first name in previous years. Halapulviati Vitae, right? I had to practice
Yeah.
that one a bunch.
You got that one. Yep. There's always those names. It's always someone.
Let's see here. Nobody wants Lucas Van Ness. Bust. Tyler Wall says no one. Chris jumping in here with a $2. If I could get the jersey giveaway up here. He says Robert Beal Jr. is getting slept on out of Georgia. I've heard that name as well, but early second round to me is a little too early for him, right?
I mean, I think so, but if he's getting slept on, I'd have to go and look at it a little bit more. But anyone out of Georgia, yes, there's some potential there, I think, and especially with the Eagles, because if you take my most recent mock draft, it's probably a little unrealistic. I think Carter is a potential if how he's going to trade up, but if you didn't see it, Nolan Smith fell all the way to 30. I don't see that happening in any world really, but he did in mine, so I had to make the pick. But if that happens, I just kind of started laughing because I'm like, what is this, Georgia North? Because there's already a lot of Georgia players. So I don't know. It's a name to consider. I think that Howie's going to obviously has kind of that immediate line to Georgia and the players there, extra insight. So it's a possibility. I don't know. I feel like there's just a couple other names that I'd be interested in.
Tyler Wallace, another 5. He's just going crazy tonight. Yes, Josh, that was you, or that was me. So he was the guy tweeting about it, huh? How about that?
There you go.
Okay. My mother has texted me and said that Liam is a week old, not 2 days old. See, they grow up so fast, right? Isn't that crazy?
Time flies.
The nephew is not 2 days old. Sorry, he was born a week ago. He still looks like a little tiny blob, but he is a week ago. Tyler Wallace with 5 more entries. Tyler wants the jersey back.
Got you down.
You just can't call Thomas. You can just call AA as Tommy. I don't think I can. I think you call him AA. Ademba War is not hard. It's the first name. And what you'll see me do on my future shows, we got him down for 5 more on the entries as well. On my future shows, I won't call him by his first name. You can tell when I struggle with a name, I'll pick either the easier to say first name or the easier to say last name, and that's what I'll call him because I hate
and just stick with
mispronouncing names and just stick with it. So AA or Ademba War is where I'm going to go.
I agree. Yes, there are definitely those names. You either shorten it and get a nickname, or you just go with one.
Yeah. Someone named Paige Harris says, very good call. I don't know if I know who that is. I might know who that is. That might be the girlfriend who says it's a very good call that I shaved the mustache. But now that she's commented on the show, which means she's watching, I kind of want to bring it back, huh? I kind of want to bring it back just to spite her a little bit there, Maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit. Well,
it's a dangerous game to play.
It's a dangerous game to play. It's dangerous, but
good luck.
Someone's got to play it at this point. Van Ness is Solomon Thomas, soft garbage player. Jeez. Solomon Thomas is a pretty bad player, though, so if you got to compare. But Solomon Thomas was the, third overall, third draft pick? We're talking about, like, a real bust versus 30 not being that big of a bust. I see Van Ness as kind of like a Derek Barnett, never anything special, rotational, not going to do anything crazy, and that's fine because, as we said, there's probably 10 great players in this draft, and you're not guaranteed to get one of them. But I don't think he's like garbage. Right. Chargers says, how about a backup quarterback in the draft project like Willis from last year? Yeah, but you drafted Mariota, and they did have Sean Clifford. I don't know if you saw this, the Penn State quarterback, Sean Clifford. The Novacare Complex today. I talked about it at the end of my show. Clifford would be a prime undrafted free agent camp arm. And he'd battle against Ian Book for quarterback number 3. You could almost put that in Penn. I feel that is very confident that they will get a local Pennsylvania guy coming from Penn State. He'll be a camp arm, and it's him versus Ian Book. Roster spots open. Have fun to be the scout team quarterback. Move forward. I think that's almost set in stone.
Okay, we gotta save this. We gotta remember this moment because whenever it happens, we're gonna play this.
Tyler is just going wild here. His bank account hates him tonight. He says, all day. Oh, wait, he's doing it for me. It's Ade Tomewa. Is that it? Ade Tomewa. Ade Tomewa? See? It's hard. Ade Tomewa? It is hard. Jeez, I don't know.
Do you say AA? Or do you say double A? Because AA, I don't know if it wants to be associated with AA.
Ade Tomewa. Maybe he'll come on the show and tell us how to do it. This is also, and
perfect.
Again, Tyler, we appreciate you. Philly fan says Tyler going crazy. He is going crazy, but he says he's cooking today. Tyler, we're not going to complain. Just make good choices. We're not going to complain. what was I going to say? This is the hard part and the unspoken crazy part of the panels on the NFL Network and obviously on ESPN and CBS Sports who are there live for the draft doing actual draft coverage all 3 days. And they have to not only know these players who are going to go in round 4 and round 7, but also know how to pronounce all their names. I can't imagine. That's like studying for, your law exam or studying for your doctor exam or whatever those exams are called, right? Your PT
Studying for the
exam.
bar.
Shout out to my girlfriend, right? I mean, these are crazy. PT exam's easy, though. Let me just throw that out there. But the other exams that are really hard.
Oh my gosh.
The other exams that are really
hard. You're
hard.
asking for it. The mustache and in this.
My girlfriend is a doctor of physical therapy, and she worked very hard to get that. Shout out to her. But at the same point, yes, it's like studying for that with names. It's going to be difficult.
Lots of flashcards. Yeah, I mean, you just got to here you go. All right,
Quizlet.
Nonstop for the last, several weeks. You make your big board and then immediately pull up this one. All right, what do I recall from this? Yeah, it's quite the endeavor for sure. They make it look pretty easy, but there's tons of prep that goes into that.
JK says, you are now single. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I might be. I've tried to get her to come on one of these live shows, and she doesn't want to do it. She's a little camera shy. One day, maybe during the draft, because I'll be live for 5 hours and she'll want to hang out. Maybe she'll hang out and she'll come on and
plenty of time.
She's a true big time football fan. Like she will watch football by herself, which is one of her crazy great qualities, which she has very many. There you go. Brownie points re-secured. I'm no longer single, but she does love football and she will be watching the draft because she does love that. You got to throw those in, right?
Cool.
Brownie points. Mickey 300. Very interesting name. Hey, Thomas and Josh, who do you think the top 5 players are on Howie's draft board? Ooh. Josh, go for it. 1 through 5 on Howie's draft board.
1 through 5.
Yes.
I'm going to say 1 is Jalen Carter.
Okay.
I'm going to say 2 is Will Anderson.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3 is... who do I want to say is 3? I'm thinking Tyree Wilson. Okay. I really think think he likes defense for that position there. And in this draft overall, like you're not going to take a quarterback, so you're not going to take any others. At 4, man, that's tough. I probably will say, I'll probably say Paris Johnson Jr.
Okay.
I'll say 4. And then 5, man, I don't know, maybe Skoronski.
Okay.
I think it's all the trenches. That's who I'd go with.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think it's all trenches. Maybe they love Christian Gonzalez, but I think Carter 1, Will Anderson 2, either Johnson or Skoronski 3, either Johnson or Skoronski 4, and then Tyree Wilson 5. I have convinced myself they're going offensive line at 10. I've convinced myself, but what are you going to do?
You should make a bet. If you've convinced yourself, you should make a bet.
A bet on what?
It's the defensive DraftKings, the sportsbook. The odds are like minus 120 for defensive linemen. So it's a plus payout for O-line if you think it is.
Maybe I need to get I got some DraftKings links hookups. I get some DraftKings links for everyone for the draft this week.
Yeah.
I might do that. Let's see here. Charger says no, Thomas. She's a Cowgirls fan. My girlfriend is not a Cowgirls fan. Her father is though. And it's but he's not like a diehard annoying Cowboy fan. He just lives in Texas. So he roots for the boys, but she is not a Cowboys fan because I would not be dating her. It's that simple. Okay, let's see here. I dated. We both went to school in Texas, right? We both went to Baylor, so everyone there is a Cowboy fan. I dated a Cowboy fan. It's really annoying. It gets really old. It's you think it'd be cute and fun, like you have your team. It's not fun. It's not a good time.
Nope.
The Latin Inferno says 6 players on Eagles board: Carter, Anderson, Bijan, Tyree, Paris Johnson, and Skoronski. Could be. Chris Scott says my son is 3 years away from getting his doctorate in PT. Shout out to Chris Scott's son. Only 3 years. That's a very long time, but he's going to do it. We feel very confident. My girlfriend texted me, said, always talking about your ex-girlfriend. There you go. I got in trouble again. I'm digging a deep hole.
You are digging a very deep
negative.
hole
I didn't say good things. I said bad things. Bad things.
Well,
oh, my goodness.
More airtime, I suppose.
Tyler Wallace. Talk about airtime tonight. He's just racking up the jersey. Tyler, you're going to scare everybody else away. I guess if Tyler doesn't win the jersey, he's gonna be very upset, but what are you going to do? It doesn't guarantee it. Carter, Anderson, Wilson, Paris Johnson, Bijan, and Skoronski. That sounds about right. For me, it's a matter of, is Bijan on the list? Is he on the list? I don't know. That's
the hard part. I think the top 5, as much as I would love for him to be in the top 5, I don't think that he is. Like I think that he's in the top 10. I'll give you that. He's definitely, in my opinion, he's definitely in the top 10 because he's just a great talent in general. But it still leads you to the fact of there's a lot of quarterbacks that could go ahead of him. And so the other players could be in front of Bijan at 10. And then, does Howie take one of those? Probably. I can't get to the point of my heart is saying one thing and my head is saying a different one. And I can't get those two match yet of say, yeah, how he's legitimately considering Bijan at 10. But, if the board falls that way, maybe, hopefully.
Tyler says, that's all the money I got. That's 100. Tyler did do 100 bomb. Unbelievable. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Tyler in the chat right now. Cool Rain says, Tyler's on fire. He is. JK says, Tyler, I'm going to give you my Venmo. It's not a bad idea. You never know. How about this one? This is the worst one yet because I can't do this. Andrew says, now you have to pronounce, oh gosh, hang on, Malesa? Malisala? Oh gosh. I don't even know who this is, honestly.
Almave Laula?
That was pretty good. Almave Laulu? I don't know who this guy is, honestly. I feel pretty bad. I feel really bad.
I don't either. Let's see.
Yeah, can we Google him? Because if he's some superstar player that we're gonna be, clipped on freezing cold takes trying to pronounce this guy's name. Malisala?
Oregon tackle.
Oh. Okay, I have heard of the Oregon tackle. I haven't heard of this one though. Sorry. Interesting. Yeah. Hey, two more entries. Josh has got you down, Andrew, into the jersey giveaway. That's a hard one, though. That's a very hard one. Let's see. Keith Wills says, any interest in Darnell Washington at 30? At 30, Josh, that's the tough one for me. And Keith, you got two more entries in here as well. That's a tough one for me. I don't know about 30. I don't know. I don't know about Darnell Washington. He's tricky for me.
He is for me too. I think, and this is just totally going off of mock drafts here, but I think if he's at 30, I strongly would consider him. I don't know if you end up going with him, but I think it would be definitely worth consideration if he's still there at 30.
He's 6'7", 264, and has 11-inch hands. I mean, you're talking about a freak here. But he didn't. I mean, but he couldn't get past the other Georgia tight end who's going to be like a top 5 pick next year. What is it? Bowser? What was his last name?
Yep, Bowser. Brock
Bowser, Bowser is great, but Washington barely touched the football. So you're wondering, is it because he wasn't good enough, or was it because the Bowser is that good? That's the question there. You just don't need a tight end, and people are really poo-pooing Grant Calcaterra, right? That's the problem with me. If you didn't draft Calcaterra late last year, who I think can catch the football pretty darn well and did so in college, I don't think the need's there. I don't think it's there at all. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, you're kind of limited with I think anyway, with the route tree. Like he's a physical freak, like you mentioned, but it's where are you going to play? He would block phenomenal, the best blocking tight end according to a lot of people, best blocking tight end in the draft, and he would create some matchup problems. But I don't know, it would be very early to take him. But depending on how the board falls and he's available there at 30, you probably look at it. I don't know. It seems like it's probably too early.
Dennis Adams, $10 super chat. Dennis, we appreciate that. Here's 10 entries into the jersey giveaway. What about the kid from USC? Tuli. I practiced.
Tuipulotu.
Yes. Tuli Tuipulotu. You got a little bit better in the second. I think much more likely in terms of an actual draft pick there in the second round versus, I would say, a tight end, right?
Yep, for sure. And you pair him back up with his brother who's already here. You pair him with Marlon and have a reunion with the brothers. So
that's right.
I think it's worth a shot. There was what was it, last 2 mock drafts ago that I did? I did pick Tuipulotu. So if he's available, depending on what draft selections you have, I think he's definitely worth a look.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. A couple comments here. Sorry, I was reading these. Why is Tyree never an option on the mocks? Really good chance he's there at 10. Will Howie let him slip by? Andrew answers, Tyree Wilson won't get past 6 guaranteed. He's the only one who might, okay, in terms of Bijan, in terms of Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. He's the one that could get past 6, but probably unlikely. Frank Gurnick says, Thomas, Josh, Eagles, I love the show. Thank you. We love you watching the show. Will you guys be together on draft night? Thanks, Franks. Probably not. I don't think we're going to be able to be together on draft night. I have a wedding. And it's actually news, and I've told Josh this. I have a wedding on night 2 of the draft, which is the biggest bummer ever. Really good friend of mine, and a bunch of my friends are going. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yes, Josh will be live for sure on night 2, and I will join from the car and join from the wedding during Eagle picks. I've decided on that one. So, that's
this
why
friend must be really important.
Back. He is important, but it's like, really, Landon, night 2 of the draft. We're live night 1, and it will be live like this. Come on. I mean, it's the best that we can do.
Yes.
Tyler says something interesting here. Tyler says, Thomas, can we make a deal? Whoever wins the jersey, they get to go on the show, have some fun with it. That's not a bad idea. I wouldn't hate that.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I could probably pull it off. They would have to have Twitter though, because I'd have to DM them the link. And because email, I mean, you have to like, how you email me what your email is and then throw that person on. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
We'll announce that on Wednesday if we're going to do it.
That could be fun.
It could be fun. It could be fun. Of course, you gotta be able to talk, right? You're not gonna you can't be, not talking or else we're gonna kick you off. But I think we could. Sure. I think we could.
Yeah, that'd be great. Have a little 10-minute segment or something, like the little reaction to what draft or you wait until figure out what the jersey is going to be or who the 2 selections that you kind of let them announce who they want. That could be kind of cool.
How about this? Chris Scott will throw it up. This is interesting. I can tell you this per a close friend of mine who's friends with a scout for the Eagles. Said Lurie loves Bijan, Sirianni loves Bijan, and Howie loves Paris Johnson. Chris Johnson, he also said this isn't a joke. So he's serious about this. Chris, I mean, listen, everybody has sources. This is believable because of what we're looking at here. Because Howie would love Paris Johnson, right? And then Sirianni and Lurie would love Bijan. Now, who wins in
this love
argument?
The offense.
Right? Now, who wins? Because you think owner.
Yeah.
But the owner has given Howie carte blanche, basically. When was the last time Howie or Jeffrey Lurie butted heads and butted in on a Howie Roseman or a Howie Roseman draft pick? That's interesting, right?
It is very interesting. Yeah, you got to think that Howie has the leverage here. I mean, it speaks for itself, the work that he's done and the team that he's assembled. I don't know. I mean, if you've got 2 versus 1, but Howie's vote kind of counts for 2 or 3 in that scenario, like, I don't know. If you really like him, I could see maybe saying, hey, let's move in this other direction. But that's tough. If that's legit, I mean, I don't know. I love it, and it's not surprising. It wouldn't be surprising because Lurie's come out and said offense is basically more important than defense, and Nick loves his offense. I don't know that you get that playmaker like Bijan. I'd be curious, I guess, to that point, if that is a legit report, if that's true, like how does Howie feel about Bijan, period? Like obviously, he says there he loves Paris Johnson, but like how close is Bijan? Because if it's a very close, then I could see him being like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get Bijan. But if it's like, no, he's nowhere close, then I don't think that he would do it. I think he'd say, sorry, nope. We're going a different direction.
That's a great point. Yeah. If Bijan's on his top 5 and he's 5 on the draft board of Howie Roseman, it's possible. If Bijan's 20th, you're going to have a real fight on your hands. And we're going to know who wins that. We're going to know who wins that fight very early on night 1 of the NFL draft. Donatello Dragon, y'all going to be mad when I win off these $2. Hey, it's more than possible. Just because Tyler's balling out doesn't mean he's guaranteed to win. It gives him more entries. But Donatello Dragon has been slowly racking up the $2 entries here. And, of course, $1 is 1 entry. He's got 2 here. So Donatello Dragon got you down. There you go. Can Jack Campbell sneak into the first round? He can. I don't think he does. There isn't a team that's that linebacker needy, and he's not like a, crazy superstar linebacker. I'm trying to think back to last year's draft linebackers. I remember being very high on some, and then realizing that they didn't really go anywhere. I got to pull it up here. Let me see. There were a couple that I was like, these guys are going to be really good, and they haven't really done much, right? Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean were both 1st and 2nd on all of our draft boards, and both of them, at least Devin Lloyd was pretty good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then you think back to some of these other guys. Troy Anderson went to the Atlanta Falcons. I forget where Chad Muma went, but both Anderson and Muma didn't have anything really that special in terms of their rookie season. And that's the problem with the linebacker class this year. There is no Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean.
The Jags?
The Jags. Is that where you went to? It was Muma. So they got both of them? They got Devin Lloyd because they also drafted Devin Lloyd, and then they got Chad Muma. Wow. Jaguars, very linebacker heavy. Interesting. Wish I could find a website that told me where they all went, but I guess that doesn't exist. What are you going to do? Chris says, Tyler, I'm serious, brother. Hey, scouts are everywhere, and there are a lot of scouts for a lot of different teams, and scouts are going to be in the know. So, I mean, it's very possible that Chris has a friend who knows a guy who is a scout for the Eagles. It's thrilled. Andrew said to be thrilled with Bijan, Paris Johnson, or Darnell Wright at 10. If none of those are available, get out of there. I don't think I'll win. It's always my luck. Sorry, put that one up there. That could be true too. Muma went to the Jags. Dennis Adams says 2024 fourth for Patrick Queen. I talked about that on my show a little while ago. Yeah, I mean, there's another example of a really cheap contract that you could do if you think you need another linebacker. I've just always said I think they like Nicholas Morrow and the rest of the young guys there who are going to battle it out. And they never have more than 3 linebackers on the football field because Reddick is a pass rusher, right? He counts as a pass rusher. So,
I think you get more, potential guys as far as defensive backs or safeties or just move some things around. Like, it'll be interesting to see because Sean Desai, I think he's going to confuse people with the fronts that he plays and the different positions. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that as of right now, they like it. I do think they will add some depth with something there, whether it's a free agent or a draft pick. But I couldn't expect that it's going to be anything of a lot of value because, like we said, there's not a whole lot of value already placed on this team, or at least in Howie's mind, for linebacker and running back. So I don't know. As much as I'd love to see a Patrick Queen on this team and you solidify him with Nakobe Dean, it doesn't.
That was a fun phrase there. Patrick Queen on this team solidified with Nakobe Dean. That was good. But I agree.
It was unintentional. Thank you.
Brian Lippincott. That's a fun last name. Lippincott. He says, I just lost it. Where is it? Their Eagles need to make Nolan Smith their version of Micah Parsons. That's someone that, again, we don't talk about a lot. Very possible at 10. I actually forgot about him when I said earlier your most possible defensive lineman that would fall would be Tyree Wilson. I was wrong. It's Nolan Smith because some people have a very high grade on Nolan Smith. Some people have a very low grade on Nolan Smith. Either way, I think at 10, he's also up there. I think he's up there for sure. And they could find ways to put him and Reddick on the field at the same time. You don't have to have one or the other. They would find ways to do it.
Yep. People are saying a lot of similarities. I see, just obviously the comment about Micah Parsons, but it could be interesting. You get a guy like a Nolan Smith, and I don't know. You never know how these players project out.
Never know.
That could be dangerous.
And Parsons was supposed to be a middle linebacker. I wanted Micah Parsons as a middle linebacker. No one knew he could pass rush. He was just thrown in there, and they realized that he's faster and bends better than anybody else on their team, and they threw him in there. I mean, you talk about just like a freak thing. At least Nolan Smith is supposed to be a pass rusher, but Micah Parsons was a middle linebacker. He's supposed to play middle linebacker for your football team, and boy, what a crazy change that is. That's why it's funny too. It's like the Cowboys, they got Micah Parsons. They knew all along. Cowboys got Micah Parsons and lucked into the fact that he's one of the best pass rushers in the league. He could have gone a lot of other places. We would have no idea who Micah Parsons was because he would have just been a linebacker. So
yeah,
we can do.
All right, we'll go for that's how it falls.
What do you think? 5-10 more minutes here. We'll answer a couple more questions and wrap up and going for an hour and 30 minutes already. Goodness gracious. We are literally basically 8 days exactly from the NFL draft, right? Because we're at 8:30. Yep. The picks will be going. It'll be starting. We'll be live. It's going to be a bunch of fun.
One more show before the draft. One more live show. That's it.
We'll be live Wednesday night. We'll be live Thursday night. We will be live Friday. It'll be more Josh by himself with me popping in at times in a suit, looking very dapper at the wedding that I'm going to, but we're gonna be live and having a bunch of fun.
Official NFL draft analyst, dressed up and everything.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're expecting a bunch of you guys to watch too. The hope is that you have the draft on your on your TV, and then you hang out here and we talk back and forth and we goof off and we have fun. We give you our analysis and we kind of roll throughout the entire night of the draft. So if you guys want to join us on next Thursday night, the 27th, that would be a bunch of fun. Ask Joey Shakes. I told Shakes players that will re-sign like Slay and Bradbury. I told Cox and Graham were re-signing. He was wrong about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, though. There you go.
Okay, yeah. And we're not doubting it. Like you said, we're not
doubting it.
It's just, who knows? It's sometimes speculation. Sometimes it's legit reports. Sometimes it's not. But I've no reason to doubt it. No reason to disbelieve. But I don't know. It's always the argument until we see who they pick and who they draft. And sometimes you get the backstory, sometimes you don't. So that's always the fascinating part too. You walk away from the draft and the reports come out of this is who we were targeting, this is who we wanted, things like that. But yeah, it could happen.
Brian Lippincott, my favorite last name of the night, says, "Do you see Quez on the board on the Birds?" Lippincott, do you see Brett Quez on the Birds this year? I think they can do better. He will be on the Birds because he's so darn cheap. You may forget it. How he was like a 6th round draft pick. He will be on the Birds. But it's very open between him and Olamide Zaccheaus for wide receiver 3. I think Zaccheaus has more slot experience and will probably win that job. Now, you can still get 20 catches for Watkins this year, but the whole idea of a breakout 50 is probably dying a little bit with the Olamide Zaccheaus signing today, which we broke down at the beginning of the show, and we both like it. Great signing, cheap. He's gotten better each year, so on and so forth.
Yep, I agree. No, you're not going to see him leave. To your point, it's at this point, it's just based on assets, and he's here as a very cheap receiver, a cheap player on this roster. But you may not see as much production and/or opportunities in this offense. You add a guy like Zaccheaus, and if you get anybody else in the draft, then his playing time may go down even more. But he's for sure going to be on the roster. It's just a question of, does he become just a complete depth player at this point, or is he going to be utilized sparingly? And I don't know what that becomes.
Yeah, he's room to grow. Everyone has an off season. You like to think that Quez is working hard. You like to think that AJ Brown, Devontae Smith are pushing him and giving him advice and trying to make him better. And so you can't count him out. But if they thought he was fine as number 3, you don't sign Zaccheaus. There's no need for him. But they bring in Zaccheaus, right. And I think Olamide Zaccheaus, what a great place to come and play, because they really need a slot receiver, and this offense has put up a lot of points, and you can really showcase yourself depending on how long the contract is and sit there pretty darn good overall. I was just looking. There is still no update here on the Olamide Zaccheaus contract situation, but it is interesting. Watkins is due an unguaranteed $2.7 million this year, so he's not that expensive either, and they have a lot of money, so they can keep him. Xavier Cooley says, third down having a deal with Eagles NASCAR package of Nolan Smith, Sweat, Hassan Reddick, and Fletch. Sheesh. That's a good point. That'd be very difficult.
Dangerous.
5 true pass rushers on the football field at once. Think back to the Giants that started the NASCAR package. That'd be pretty scary. Dennis Adams, Elliott Park. Everyone knows that you take the best player available. Some people now don't take Bijan at number 10. LOL. Yeah. The Eagles can take best player available. They don't have a need. Yeah. I mean, safety, linebacker, whatever you want. But is the best player available Paris Johnson or Bijan Robinson? And there is no argument for, well, if you take Bijan, you only get him for his first contract. That's 5 years. That's all you need him for. The Eagles are in a 5-year window right now, 4-year based on the Jalen Hurts contract, which can be changed. Not like you're locked in at 4, but you have 4 years to go win a Super Bowl. And if you have 4 years to win a Super Bowl, then you get somebody who will be here for the next 4 years at an elite level, and that's Bijan Robinson. And you can make the argument the Eagles this year have a better chance than they did last year, because I think their roster is pretty darn good. It might be a little better. Who knows after this draft? And Paris Johnson, will he play in 2023? Probably not. Will Bijan play? Yes. I mean, we talk about arguments here. It's crazy.
Yep. And I mean, it's always the argument that you make, but let's say you get a Bijan Robinson, right? And you talk about the window there. You have him for 5 years. So then you're talking about however you want to make this argument, but you've got a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. You've got a top probably 3 running back in the NFL. I mean, if Bijan projects out like everyone seems to think, top 3 running back, you've got 2 top 10 for sure receivers, if not better than that. You've got the best offensive line. That's that for the next 4 seasons at least, that you've got all the cap space to continue adding to that dominant team. So yeah, I think that if he's available, yes, that's someone to consider, because I mean, who's gonna stop this offense? It really comes down to the defensive side of the ball and special teams at that point, because the team is going to be crazy.
Chris Scott says, I love your show, guys. Thomas and Josh are both great young men. We appreciate that. Very kind words. I wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate that.
I sub to both shows. I'll do everything I can to promote your shows. We greatly appreciate that. It's spreading the word. Josh and I have been working on our editing skills. I think that's something that's lacked a lot in the community, and I don't blame anybody, because editing is hard. We've been working on that. Josh and I talk almost every single day. We're trying to give you guys the best content possible, and it's super fun to do. We both have other jobs, so it takes precedent in terms of trying to get other jobs done, but we really do try to give you guys the best watching experience, and we appreciate all the thumbs up and the subscribers and the growth for both channels. It's a big deal. We're average guys who both have journalism backgrounds, but we're still average guys talking about the Eagles, and you guys give us a platform to do that. So we thank you guys.
Very much appreciated.
Thomas says, Tyler says, Thomas, I feel like I'd be bummed about not being on the show than win the jersey. It just shows my love for you both. We might make it happen, Tyler. We might have let someone come on sometime on Thursday if you are the winner. We'll
Could be fun.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
Brian Lippincott, free Derek Barnett. We forget about Derek Barnett. He's gonna be he's gonna be there this year. We'll see.
Brian just needs to put a bunch of one-liners out there, because every time that he puts it, you're going to say his whole name.
Fun
so
to say. It's like a leprechaun, right? I picture Brian as he's wearing like a green suit tonight. I don't know.
He's going to win the jersey and come on, and they're going to be like, "That's the
That'd be
furthest
funny.
thing."
What if
from
he
the
was
truth,
though?
but...
What if he was redhead? He's got a big Irish voice. That'd be great. Drinking a Guinness. Heisenberg 215 says, I don't understand why people keep talking about pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. We had that last year and lost. We need more offense. To make the argument, Josh and I would immediately say the field was a little sketch. Could have been better on a neutral field. We're not going to, it was a neutral field, but whatever. We're not going to go back there. We don't be sore losers.
The groundskeeper was a Chiefs person, but yeah, whatever.
You know, come on. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Don't be crazy. Wink, wink. I know you're right. Yeah, but I mean, the Eagles offense was perfect in that game, minus the Hurts fumble, and they still lost. So, you know, there's an argument there. Jackson Lloyd has been hyping up Sweat for 4 or 5 years now compared to Clowney before he went to the Browns. Yeah, Sweat is good. He's not great yet. He hasn't had that great, 15-sack breakout season. Look out for Joey Bosa. Look out for Nick Bosa kind of guy. He's been great. Excuse me, and he deserved his contract extension and, you know, all that. But he hasn't had that big-time year where you go like, oh, my gosh, Josh Sweat's on the football field. He's going to wreck the game. Reddick took over that slot. You'd like to see Josh elevate a little more. True.
If he does, this team is already very dangerous, but it's going to be to that next level. So I'd love to see it. That's for sure.
Brian
there you go.
Well, Lippincott. See how boring it is to say it like that? Brian Lippincott. He says, actually in a Phillies shirt. There you go. Brian Lippincott is a Philly guy through and through. Right on. All right. I think we're about out of time here. We go for an hour and 40 minutes. Josh has dogs to take care of. I'm going to stop talking because I've been talking a lot today on other Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys. A bunch of fun. All the super chats. We're very excited for the jersey giveaway. We're very excited just to hang out next week. Live Wednesday. For Wednesday Linc Live. It'll be normal, just like this, but a lot more hype because it'll be like day before the draft. Live all day Thursday. Live all night Thursday. And then live. I'll be live partially. Josh will be live the entire time. It'll be on Josh's channel. I'll set you guys up. So be sure to sub to him. That way he can go ahead and get all of you guys watching him and supporting him as well. Sub to both shows. Thumbs up both shows and watch our shows the rest of the weekend. Josh Davis, Thomas Mott. See you guys.
We'll see you.